Oh, hi! You've caught me watching the Street Fighter II medley, and if you like video game music like I do, then perhaps you'd like to view this also. It's the GNS Street Fighter II medley from Games and Symphonies, and one of the best pieces of video game music I recall hearing. Here's another less than 8-second clip. Anyway, that's Guile's stage, the Guile theme. We've linked it below the video. And thanks for reminding us that it's time for the That Is Censored, and that is a sinkhole, where we encourage our viewers to understand the distinction between their and a hole in the ground, if you know what I mean. Let's get started with talking about Google missing its third quarter profit estimates by $1.7 billion. That's billion with a B. Hey, Google. What's up with the junkware? Hey, Google. Alphabet's profit not measuring up. It lost some market share. Now, Google's trying to act like they're competing with Facebook and Amazon mainly, but you know what? They're trying to compete with Apple too. Not that I think that's a bad idea, because that's also junkware. Let's talk about some more stuff, such as this channel. Have you subscribed? Do you enjoy the content? Do you like the daily space weather videos? Have you pressed like and subscribe? Have you shared on your social media? We're massively shadow banned. Are you aware that Google pays us nothing to make these videos, and that they're primarily funded only by Patreon? Check out patreon.com/smAsho if you'd like to see the information first. There are other sources also, but mainly we are here to tell you that Google is a scam and not a verb. So please support us via Patreon, as YouTube/Google junkware manufacturer King pays us zilch for these videos. And let's move on to talk about how Google's getting sued by an Australian regulator over privacy concerns. Oh yeah. Hey Google, how's those liabilities treating you, Google? Are those liabilities treating you well, Google? Now, companies like Google can't get out of their own way no matter what they do, as they've created many more responsibilities than they are capable of handling. And here's yet another article about it, linked below the video. And if you think I'm digging up old data, this is from yesterday, October 28th, 2019. Let's talk about some older cases. This one's from this year also. Back in July, Tulsi Gabbard decided to sue Google for electioneering. Now, I didn't start paying attention to Google in great detail until the 2016 presidential campaign, where it became super obvious that Google was interfering in U.S. presidential elections by messing with search suggestions. Now, Google owns about 80% of the search space, arguably as much as 90% of the search space. So stop using it as a search engine. If you use Google as a verb, it simply means to obtain biased search results by using the Google search engine. So get the hell off of Google. De-Googlify your life. Use DuckDuckGo. Use Brave browser. Get the junkware out of your life, folks. Get the cobwebs out of your brain. You'll appreciate the difference. Were you aware that the University of Chicago is also suing Google over patient data? That's right. These junkware manufacturers, they will listen in on your phone when you're in places like the doctor's office. And if you're talking about some protected health information while you're in the doctor's office and you've got a device with a battery in it, well, you may want to leave that in the car, as these devices are known far and wide to record conversations at inopportune moments, such as when you're in the hospital, when you're talking to your doctor. And yeah, so links to this article also. And this one is from also this year, June 28th, 2019. Were you aware that Google has agreed to pay $13 million in Street View privacy case? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Google. It's the leading junkware manufacturer on Earth. They own about 60% of internet servers. And to make things worse, they're trying to buy Fitbit. Yeah, they're trying to make their way into the hardware space. Links to every single one of these articles. Please read them. Please share them with your friends. And please get this junkware out of your 401k if it's still in there. Google, leading manufacturer of junkware. Hey, Google, when we're trying to save a file, that doesn't mean we're sharing it. See what I did there? Spyware, junkware, malware. Google! Let's talk about some more interesting stuff like economics. Cryptocurrency has rebounded. Oh, yeah. Let's hope it's outperforming Google's junk stock. Let's look at Bitcoin on the Coinbase exchange. And this is the 1-year chart, and we see a significant rebound there. So we saw a big dip recently, and now we see a rebound. That's a good thing for all you cryptocurrency people. And I'm not a huge believer in crypto. I own a small amount for proof of concept, but that's it. Let's look at Ethereum. And here's Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency. This one also reported on the Coinbase exchange, also showing a significant rebound. And that is a good thing for everybody besides holders of dollars and holders of junk stock. As a massive bubble has been inflated, we'll talk about it in a minute, but first we're going to talk about some more commodities. Now, oil has remained pretty low as a result of a global slowdown. It's only at $54.77 a barrel right now. And this is what happens when you have massive food shortages. Now, we're expecting to see a rise in food costs, at least over the next year. We're hoping not 3 years, but at least over the next year, as we've seen massive crop losses and loss of pigs in China, and Australia has become a net importer of grains, and crops failed to plant, crops failed to harvest, crops failed to grow, crops were destroyed by flooding, crops were destroyed by hail, the whole world over. Now, here's the 1-year chart on silver. And please leave a comment if you remember us telling you to purchase this at $13.95 an ounce back in early December, for instance, or even in late December. Would have made a great Christmas present. And this is still a buy at $17.66. Keep in mind, I am not licensed to give out any financial advice, so take it all with a grain of salt. Take it with a shaker of salt. Take it with a truckload of salt. Do your own research and understand the real economics, as the US dollar is going to be going down in value. And when I say going down in value, I mean in reference to precious metals. So the US is not going to inflate as much as other currencies, as other world currencies are already stumbling around to try to get into US bonds, as the US dollar looks less weak than everybody else. And that's a good thing if you're dealing with US dollars, or if you're part of sovereign debt or anything like that. But keep in mind, inflation has already begun. The Federal Reserve has already begun quantitative easing. Once again, it's QE4. Welcome to QE4. Inflation shall rise as prices rise at the same time. The worst for the poor, but not so bad for the rich, as a massive economic bubble has been inflated by things like cheap money purchasing more and more Google, Facebook, Apple, and Twitter junk stock. Zombie companies are the air in the bubble. Anyway, talking about bubbles, there's the S&P 500 index, and yeah, get the hell out of Dodge. Get the hell out of Dodge, folks. Let's go back to space, since the sun is the leading driver of Earth's economies, as boom and bust cycles are controlled in reality by solar activity and not the prime lending rate. So anyway, another article we found, as there's so much stuff to cover today, an overlooked piece of the solar dynamo puzzle. Anyway, I'll just scroll through this slowly so our viewers can read it without having to actually even click on the links below the video, although we linked it there anyway. This research done by Helmholtz, Zentrum, Dresden, Rosendorf, the University of Leeds, and the Leibniz Institute for Astrophysics Potsdam, looking at the solar dynamos and talking about super rotations. And again, we'll just scroll through this slowly, so anybody who feels like reading on the video could just read here without even referring to the article about the way the magnetic fields behave and about the way the sun's, quote, dynamo, the magnetic, quote, dynamo is generated. And looks like a step in the right direction, as some classical astrophysics and cosmology is starting to move that way. And thank goodness for that. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance as astrophysics gets rewritten. Are you aware of the new Grand Radio Array for neutrino detection? Well, being created in China, it's going to be quite the array. The current building involves a 300 antenna array, which is currently under construction. The next stage will consist of 10,000 antennas, and the final stage will consist of 200,000 antennas. Looks like it's planned for the 2030s, and looks like some interesting science about to come out of these arrays out of China, and for that, we thank you. Here's an image of, a great image actually, of everything except for those gravitational waves. Moving on to a meeting involving tensions about geoengineering, a stupid idea. Let's talk about the two kinds, both idiotic, moronic, ill-fated, foolish plans. Solar radiation management and carbon dioxide removal. Two things created with the premise that the planet is getting warmer. These things will do nothing but make the planet even colder than it already is, as well as make the planet less green. Now, carbon dioxide, the average carbon dioxide levels on Earth are like 1,200 parts per million, over 1,000 parts per million, and they're currently only at 400 parts per million. They have nothing to do with global warming. Carbon dioxide does not warm the planet. Deal with it. Read the article. I don't know. Don't start a jihad. Let's talk about a spooky Hubble photograph. It's Galaxy Arpmador 2026-424. It's 704 million light years away. And let's talk about how spooky it is. I drew in it's like a galactic skull with fangs, and it's got a pig nose, and it's the pupil in its right eye is like vertical, like a snake or cat or something. It's freaking crazy, man. It's totally crazy. And the pupil in the left eye is just like a dilated human pupil on mescaline or something. So we drew that in there just so you can get an idea of what's going on with that. Let me undraw it, and then I'll redraw it for your viewing pleasure. There you go. Spooky, spooky galaxy for your Halloween viewing pleasure. And we've also left links to this article, as well as the catalog from which it came, which is this Halton ARP catalog, the Arpmador catalog of Southern Peculiar Galaxies and Associations. Now, I'm not too familiar with this stuff, so I started reading it, and you should too, perhaps, as I'm from the Northern Hemisphere, and I can't see this stuff. So we've drawn in also it looks to me like it's the what I would call the Grim Reaper galaxy. And I'll just draw in the scythe for you. Here's where the scythe is, and right like this. All right, I don't know what's going on there. Let's try that again. Anyway, here's the scythe. Here's the handle. And then the blade's like this. So it's clearly the Grim Reaper galaxy. Please leave a comment if you're worried that the galaxy is going to be harvesting the soul of this galaxy here. And we've left links to the whiteboard also. So if you want to draw some graffiti, link to it and feel free. Holy cripes! Son of a beehive. Were you aware that inflation is on the way and that the Federal Reserve has already begun QE4 and injected $130 billion into the credit markets? Well, apparently Michael Pinto agrees with us. And let's play a quote.
To 1, the highest they've ever been was just a little bit higher than that. I'm sorry, 4.8 to 1. They were 5.3 at the top of the peak of the housing market.
For some reason, the Federal Reserve thinks that higher inflation is good. And I mean, for stock market bubbles to be inflated by companies like Google buying back their own stock and artificially inflating their own stock price, well, it's good for that, but it's bad for mostly everybody else. Links to this article also below the video. Are you familiar with Failblog? I'm not that familiar, but ICANN has cheeseburger? Anyway, considering reading some stuff from here, as the internet is tubes. The internet is tubes. Were you aware that the Secret Service opened fire on a section of slippery floor that attempted to take out President Carter? Well, we've links to this article also. Yeah. And stay tuned for one bonus section, folks, just one. It's today's activity from the local yellow dwarf on 131 angstroms. We are out and expect a third video coming out today. Thanks for viewing Smash Team. And we promise we are going to get back into doing Smash live streams.